want to go ahead and thank everybody in the chat. Welcome to our third little chat that we have today. Today we got a special guest with us. We have the normal crew. We have Hey It's DT and Kaiba Man, but today we have none other than an amazing, beautiful person. Goes by Sweepthelegz. Go ahead, Sweep. Tell us where we can find you and introduce yourself for us.
Thank you, guys. As Neff mentioned, my name is Sweepthelegz. PSN is with 1Z. Twitch.tv/Sweepthelegz with 2 Z's, because branding is incredibly difficult, apparently, on all social media. But yeah, as you guys are probably aware, I've played pretty regularly with Hey It's DT on the Plant Destiny channel, doing trials, assistance, and raffles on the weekends. And like I said, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to hop on here and chat with you guys.
Following that, I wanted to go ahead and thank everybody that did participate in our little giveaway last week. I ended up taking 3 more people to the Lighthouse from the comments down below. You guys putting your comments and your gamer tag / PSN name made that incredibly easy. So thank you again for going ahead and posting in the comments. If you want to participate again this week, make sure you do the same. Post the question of the day, which is going to be, what do you think the best super is in Destiny? Go ahead and post your gamer tag, and I'll choose another couple people from the comments. Anyway, this week what we're going to talk about is I wanted to get a little bit into some of This Week at Bungie, but it's really going to be weird because we're going to find out information almost immediately. So I really wanted to talk about viability and what is the best super, almost a ranking of supers in Destiny, in Trials and Crucible altogether, post patch 2.5.0.2. So DT, I know you're very, very adamant about this, so let's go ahead and hear your thoughts first, brother.
Generally speaking, there's only one heavy round. There's only a number of times in which Defender, the bubble, is very, very strong, whereas the other 8 supers are stronger in more situations. So generally speaking, I think the bubble, with the reduction of scories, is the worst class, is the worst super in the game. What do you guys think?
Don't say that to Destiny Fun, please.
I think so for this conversation, we're definitely keeping it on the topic of PvP-oriented supers, not PvE, because PvE is a different category all in itself, where certain abilities are much more potent in that game type. But in PvP, I definitely agree with you that Defender has the least amount of utility and is more situational than any other super. So it's much more difficult to actually make that super good.
I don't disagree with you. In terms of PvE, I think it's one of the best supers. But PvP, if you're not Destiny Fun Police, then yeah, it's not a very good super.
I would tend to agree. I think it really comes down to, if we're talking the player count. So Bubble becomes less and less viable the higher you go in player count. So if you go all the way up to 6s, I think it becomes less viable, just because there's a lot more opportunity for the other team to have a super to shut it down and to cancel out the bubble. If you go down to 3s or even 4s, as we kind of have seen within some of the scrims and kind of going back and forth for some other game types like zone control, bubble can still be strong. And I think the fewer the amount of enemies that you have in the other team, the more viable it becomes. But I think, yeah, it's definitely still down on the list as number 9.
All right. Well, so what would you guys think is number 8? We gotta build this list really quickly, because really people don't care about what's in the middle. It's what's the best, what's the middle, what's the worst. You know what I mean?
I would argue that number 8 could definitely be either Radiance or Arcblade, and we're talking just supers, not subclass here. We're just talking about supers, right? You look at Radiance or you look at Blade Dancer in this current meta, where how can either of those supers counter other supers? They're definitely the weakest. They don't have. It's very easy to team shot either of those supers. So I would argue that they would be either at 9 or 8, and they could be swapped out at any given moment, and people wouldn't blink an eye at that.
Let me tell you a little bit about Blade Dancer.
We haven't heard this before.
I have some thoughts about this. If you guys aren't, so again, I'm a Blade Dancer main. It's the most risk reward super out there, and even with the reward, it only does. It's not able to kill somebody else that's in a super. A lot of times it takes 2 swings. A lot of times it short stops. And with the reduction to Hungering Blade, it's become even more. It's a higher risk with an even lower reward. So, I without a doubt, I can comfortably say it's the 8th. Yeah, I think it's the 8th. I'm surprised you have Sunsinger that low, Kaiba.
Yeah.
Given the changes to special. But I will defer to you guys. What do you guys think?
No, I think that the super's gotten a little bit more viable. But I mean, it's still like Kaiba said, it's still very easily a team shot. I think prior to the patch, with the depleting player base, self-res was next to useless in a lot of cases. So I think it's become a little bit more, but it's still from at the super perspective, it's still not the greatest. It doesn't really provide that instant kill or shutdown that some of the other supers allow.
I was surprised that we had Sunbreaker that low. Really, after I'm surprised Night Stalker isn't a mention. Again, I don't want to say Night Stalker's weak. 4, 5, 6, and 7, I have painfully close, which includes Sunbreaker. But I had Night Stalker down here, where again, it's I wouldn't say it's weak. Same thing with Defender. Defender is the only one I would say is kind of weak. Because you can just outrun it. Night Stalker, it has a lot of great ability. It can shut down any roaming super. It's good for pick even. You can use it in a panic. So if you're just rushing somebody, you're able to pop it as fast as you can and get at least one kill, and then hopefully tether a second guy, even if they're able to gun you down. But again, it's only able to get one pick, whereas a Nova or a Striker or some of the other ones are able to get two and maybe sometimes even 3, and Quiver even. Yeah, Black Hole's typical. So yeah, I had Night Stalker down here. Is my humble opinion.
I have noticed too that I think Kaiba, do you rock fusions primarily or?
I started with Firebolt, but I changed to Fusion since Neff enlightened me about that. That it can one-shot kill.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So yeah.
One thing I have seen in terms of up the viability of Radiance or even self-res is prior to popping it, pop back over to Firebolts. They're not what they used to be, but they do provide the ability to spam and clear a room pretty quickly again.
Oh man, I know exactly where you went there. Just so the viewers know, me and Neff played together a bunch, and there was just one time, completely random, as I self-res, I switched to Firebolts, which is what Sweep just said is the most viable thing, and Neff was like, I can't believe you just switched to Firebolts. Like, I was on Fusion Grenades the whole card, the whole day, and then I switched to Firebolts when I self-res, because the thing is, Firebolts are so powerful when you can spam them, especially when they have the burn. Fusion Grenades are very difficult to use, especially when you self-res, because you yourself are disoriented as a self-res person, because you can only really look one way at a time. You can't see everything around you, so you're kind of having to switch around, turn your view, and be ready for people to charge at you, because that's what they'll do when you use your self-res. They'll just team shot you, and getting a Fusion Grenade to stick is kind of like not working with the adrenaline that you just got from using your super. So moving on, let's look at slot number 7. Where do you guys think is who fills that slot? I guess let's Sweep. Why don't you start this off? Who fits that number 7 position?
For me, the 7th position, gosh, it's getting to be tough already, which is crazy. I'd probably have to end up going with Sunbreaker in its current state.
Sunbreaker lasts forever. How many times do you get killed by one a solid 45 seconds later? It may not be 45 seconds, but you're like, how many times have you said the words, oh my god, he's still in his Sunbreaker? Whereas Night Stalker is a tad more situational. It's not so much the Swiss Army knife of supers.
I would only argue that because it's a very big roaming super, and that because, especially when we got nerfed, where snipers aren't as much of a viable option anymore, that nobody can snipe people out of their Hammer of Soul, whereas previously that would be an option, then yes, I would agree with you. But right now, Hammer of Soul can just go around anywhere, and they only have counters with other supers.
I guess in my head I'm still thinking probably pre-patch, which is my fault. In terms of super, I never really feared a Sunbreaker. I guess as of now, I probably do not, just because, like I said, the roaming is still really, really strong. So after the patch, roaming supers kind of got that ability to kind of buff up quite a bit in terms of the ranking. So yeah, I mean, I definitely could be swayed in terms of placing it differently. I guess in terms of the ability, I guess Sun Charge, it does last quite a long time, but at the same time, I still think that if you team shot effectively, it's still not necessarily something that I fear.
Yeah, I don't feel that it's as strong as, say, a Striker or a Void Bomb or a Golden Gun right now. You know what I mean? Going back to your list, you said said 6, 4, 5, and 6. What would you say in those classes were again?
So 7, I had Night Stalker. 6, I had Sunstinger. So I was a little bit higher than you guys. I think it's going to be tough with that. It takes 2 people to really gun one down. You know how you could just have one sniper watch the body and that was it, and even he could be in a good position to kind of help out. He could kind of sort of kite the situation and be able to watch the body and help out with the 2 remaining guys. But you guys are the Sunsinger professionals, so I'll leave that to you. Storm is what I have next above Night Stalker. Again,
I was actually gonna put Storm that middle class as like being like not good
right
but
there
not bad.
at 5.
Right there in
Yeah.
the middle at 5. Yep.
It's strong. The Ionic Blink, you're able to get everywhere. You have a crap ton of health. You have, I believe, it's a 14-meter range, if I'm not mistaken, and then a 22. And then it extends another 12 or another 8 meters after that. It's strong. It sure isn't a liability. What are your thoughts, Sweep?
I would agree with that. I think my lineup is very similar to yours. I think the only thing that, at least for me, like I said, where I placed Sunbreaker was kind of based on the same reason why you love to talk about Blade. is the soul charge. It still doesn't register all the time. It's still kind of finicky. I put Night Stalker above that at 6, just because of the ability to be able to shut down supers now is more important than ever, because you don't have special, you don't have a shotgun, you don't have a sniper in order to shut down some of these roaming supers. So the ability to do that kind of puts Night Stalker, at least for me. And then I have Storm down as well, just because it's a solid super. Like you said, the range on it is ridiculous. I like the Ionic Blink is kind of, it helps avoid that team shot. So where I think like Sunbreaker and Blade are both kind of susceptible to still being in the open for a prolonged period of time, where you're coming at them and the team can actually effectively work together to bring you down. Ionic Blink kind of allows you to maneuver around that and kind of hopefully negate some of that team shooting.
So I think that we're all kind of in an agreement with minor changes between 4 to 9. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about those top 3 supers that we think that are the most viable in trials. And once again, it's not the overall class. It's literally pressing that alt button and having your super against a team wipe, or your super against another team, or however situation you want to put it in. What would be your number 3, Kaiba?
That's a great question. My top 3 are really determined on how good the player is with those subclasses. I would argue, just based on people's experience, that Golden Gun would probably be at number 3, just because that's a super that is so easy to shut down without any other supers. Even though we are in a special ammo drought right here, we can still snipe that Golden Gun with a one-shot headshot. It's done, and kind of avoid it very easily. With a Shade Step, you can easily get around that. Today I was playing an Iron Banner, and I just Ionic Blinked around the Golden Gun. The dude didn't know how to counter that. Same thing with the Hammer of Soul. They just did not know where I was going with the Ionic Blink. But Golden Gun itself is a great super because you can shut down people so easily. You can shut down a super by Golden Gunning them.
Oh, okay. So I would have put Striker as number 3, simply because obviously it's top 3 of the supers. So it's not a bad super. It's actually quite good. Top 33%. I would put that as a fantastic super. It's generally just like you shut down anything. That's just simple. You shut down anything. Like anything that comes at you. Rarely do you kill a striker out of a super, you know what I mean? Rarely, no matter how much armor they're having. Rarely. I mean, like obviously it's happened to a couple of us, but like Rarely does it ever happen. So all around, good super. It just shuts down anything, no matter what. Cap a point, done. Heavy, done. Take out another super, done. Like, too easy. And then same thing with Nova Bomb. Nova Bomb has the same applications. The only difference between that is it actually gives you some health back. You know what I mean? Going back to it, Gunslinger, right now in this current meta, 2.5.0.2, I would put Gunslinger at the top. And it's only because there's not a lot of special to combat it.
I am floored, but I'm very surprised that you had this 3. I have by not a mile, but by a significant amount, Gunslinger 1. I think it is the super is all it is line of sight. And without sniper ammo to start, as so long as you're popping it intelligently at the beginning of rounds, which, doesn't require too much. And with the mobility of gunslingers right now with bones and everything, all it does is it takes line of sight and it's a kill, at least one. If not 2. Again, I typically look things through the lens of trials. And it's a great zoning mechanism where you just pop it and then they can't push you for X amount of time. It's a super that you're able to kill a Nova who's beginning to start. It's able to kill every other super, whereas Blade can't do that. Not to bring that up again, but I will. But that's important, and it's able to do that. It's able to do that instantly. It's able to do any super. It's able to knock it out instantly, and I think that's important as well. Not only so, it's basically a super Night Stalker, in that sense. So, what do you think, Sweep? Or where do you put Gunslinger?
I definitely had Gunslinger as number 1, just because, like you said, it's line of sight, and it's 3 individual shots. So the ability to take down an entire team, and more. Like in 6s, they group up, and you have certain abilities turned on for the subclass. You can potentially kill quite a group if they group up. So yeah, I had it at 3 just because there's really not much you can do. I know where Keep is coming from, basically saying that we still have the ability to one-shot headshot with a sniper, but that takes some guts to in this current meta and even beforehand when you hear a Goldie pop to just kind of stand there and wait. Yeah, I definitely had Gunslinger as number 1 just because I can't, the number of times, like DT said even, where they pop it and they kind of control that space now, especially when it comes to endpoint cap for trials or anything of that nature. Rift, it just kind of allows this, it allows them to be able to secure areas and objectives for the duration that it's sitting there, even if they don't have to fire a shot. Yeah, definitely Gunslinger number 1, and I had Striker number 2, and Void is number 3.
I guess I just play against some really bad players that don't know how to use Gunslinger, because my experience is that I can just hide behind a wall and kind of poke out sometimes, like bait him to use his golden gun, and he misses every shot. Like basically that's what it is. Where my experience is I play against people that are incompetent with golden gun. And, you might be one of those people, and we have guides to how to use golden guns. So definitely check those out. In Planet Destiny, we got guides for everything. So anyway, I think that you guys are right where golden gun is a roaming super. In the right hands, it can be the most successful super out of all the supers. Where, let's say you use Nova or Titan Striker, which I think can be debated whether on 2 or 3. Like they can fluctuate. Where both of those supers are supers that you just react. Pure reaction time. Right around the corner, meeting 3 people instead of 1 person. You might save your super. While Golden Gun, you seek out your kills and you shut down supers. Where Nova, you have to aim a little bit better because it's a weird send off from your Guardian. It just like kind of floats sometimes, or it's a bullet depending on what you choose. Sometimes it has tracking. Where Striker, it's only ground. I guess you can kill a lot of people in the air with that, because I jump in the middle of the air, like way above the guy, and he somehow kills me with that Striker. But I think that without a doubt, these 3 supers are definitely top 3, and Golden Gun probably leads the at number 1. But I think that it's interesting that but very few people use Golden Gun. For some reason, people just don't enjoy that subclass. I don't know if it's because of grenades or whatever, but the super itself is definitely the most powerful super of all the supers because it can shut down and it can get 3 kills or 4 kills depending on your build at maximum, or however you look at it. But I think that you guys are right, where it is the most powerful one in the right hands.
I mean, at least make sure you have a golden gun on your team just to be more viable in trials. That's the best advice I can give for this. You guys agree with that?
Really, what it comes down to is if you said, okay, if you're having the debate, if I put the gunslinger super, the golden gun on any other super, or on any other subclass, would that subclass then improve or would it be worse? And I think it's an improvement across the board. I think I'd be more potent. I think I would be more dangerous across any of the other 8 subclasses.
Imagine 4 Nova bombs. I mean,
yeah. We're not talking about the neutral game. We're not talking about the grenades. We're not talking about the passive. We're just talking about the super.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this little chat. Thank you again, Sweepthelegz. Please tell us where we can find you again.
Oh, no, thank you, guys. Again, guys, Sweepthelegz. PSN is with 1Z. Twitter is with 1Z. And Twitch is with 2 Zs, unfortunately. But thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come on here and chat.
Yeah, and if you haven't gone over to his Twitch channel, man, make sure you go over there and show some support. You don't have to follow or anything, but just go over there, check him out. He's usually streaming with DT, so it's a good crew. If that's the kind of content you like, man, hit that follow button. It really helps out, up and becoming streamers, and I believe that Sweepthelegz is one of those up and coming streamers. So. As far as people down in the comments, this week's question that we're going to follow up with is, what is your number 1 super? What would you classify as your number 1 super, and why? What's the viability and why? Make sure you include your gamer tag in that comment so you can get chosen for this week's Trials Carry, Trials Sherpa, or however you want to phrase it. To be entered into this giveaway, make sure you put your comment down below, and make sure it's about this. How would you rank this classified? How would you rank this super among other supers? And make sure you kind of like integrate that it's only a super in terms of not like an overall gameplay, not an overall neutral game between other guardians. It's just the striker versus the gunslinger, just the super itself, rather than the entire class. So make sure you put your question and the reason why and your gamer tag in the comments down below.